us learn communication for accuracy. In Indianism. Indianism, topic is Indianism, and unit 1 is communication for accuracy. Yeah, hi, hello everybody. This is Anita Singh from Cambridge Institute of Technology. I'm the assistant professor for English. Today, let us learn about Indianism in English, and the topic is communication for accuracy. What we need, what is the communication which we need for accuracy? So here, learning objectives. After reading this chapter, you will be able to understand what is meant by Indianism in terms of the English language, some of the commonly used expressions in Indian English, errors commonly made by a large number of Indians while speaking and writing English, how to avoid the commonly employed incorrect Indian English usages and prefer the standard English usage instead. Let me give the introduction. Since English is not our native language, it is not easy for us to attain the level of accuracy and comfort that comes with the luxury of using a mother tongue. In fact, there are a large number of expressions, words, phrases, and other linguistic structures commonly employed by the Indian speakers and writers of English, which are not in consonant with standard English used by the native speaker and writers of English. We generally fail to differentiate between the non-standard and standard English usage. Moreover, since a large number of people talk to write earnestly in a particular way, it gains currency over the years and is never noticed for it being anomalous to standard English usage. However, when it comes to interacting with native speakers, such errors not only confuse the native users of English, but also bring into question our credibility and proficient users of English. The following section lists some commonly used enormous words, expressions, phrases, and other linguistic structures and the standard English usage. Instead of being the Indian variant, try to prefer the standard English usage for the following. So the introduction is, we will learn about the standard English usage. See, our being not our mother tongue, we don't speak English at home. As our mother tongue is not English, usually we make many mistakes when we use the words in our daily life. So here are few difference between the Indian English and the standard English, which you are going to learn. Okay, first is by walk. See, most of the time what we use the word by walk in Indian English. Many of us say something like, these days I am going to office by walk. The standard English usage would suggest that we say, these days I am going to office on foot. See here, we use the word by walk. So wherever you go, most of us what we say, these days I'm going to office by walk. These days I'm going to school by walk. So by walk is not the proper usage. We have to use on foot. Instead of using the word by walk, we can use the word, or we have to use the word on foot. It's a standard English usage. Next, dicky. Most of the time we use this word dicky. Okay. Instead of dicky, we have to use the word boat here. So what is the difference? What is the meaning here? I'll just tell you. Quite commonly, we come across people telling each other, don't go for this car. It has a very small dicky. Now, the word dicky in standard English does not exist in this sense. The proper word for this is boot or trunk. So, the correct expression is, don't go for this car, it has a small boot. So when we are using this, most of us say when we are traveling by car or when we are using as a mode of transport, we say we don't have proper dicky. The dicky is very small in the car. No, dicky is not the word, and we're not going to use this, and it doesn't exist also. Instead of the word dicky, we can use the word boat here or the trunk. Anyone is fine. Next is hail from. So when we speak to somebody, what we use this word hail from. Once hail was a common replacement for belong to and come from. It is no longer in use, and we should instead say I come from or belong to Rajasthan, rather than telling someone something like don't you know I hail from Rajasthan. Such an expression is now obsolete. Here we are not using this word hail from. Earlier we were using sometimes long ago, but now this is not the proper usage. Here standard English usage is belong to. Okay, so here I come from or I belong to, it's not like proper usage. So how we have to use? Once hail from was a common replacement for belong to and come from. Now it is not in use, and we should not say I come from or belong to Rajasthan. No, rather than we can say that I hail from. Such an expression is not obsolete. So here hail from is not a word which you are going to use. Instead of that, we can say that I come from or I belong to. These two words plays an important role. Don't use the word I hail from. Most of us do this mistake. Next, cut jokes. We are not going to cut the jokes. Instead, we are going to crack the jokes. So Indian English, we speak the word cut joke. No. Instead of that, we can say crack joke. Here it is very common for us to hear something like Sidhu knows how to cut witty jokes. Now, jokes are not cut. They are cracked or told. See here, we don't use the word cut the joke. Jokes are not cut. They're usually cracked or told. Therefore, it is more appropriate to say Sidhu knows how to crack jokes. So, it's the correct way to say to cut jokes. Okay, Sidhu knows to cut jokes. It is correct? No, we are not using this word cut jokes. So we can use, instead of cut jokes, we are not going to cut the jokes. Instead of cut jokes, we are using the word crack jokes. Or he knows how to crack jokes. This is the correct formation. Okay. Next is good name or name. See here in Indian English, we use the word good name. And in standard English, we use name. It doesn't matter. We don't say that what is your good name or bad name. No, that is the wrong usage. It is customary for most of us to make our question polite in some such way. What is your good name? However, the expression good name seems culture specific, as in our country, everyone has two names. One good, other formal, and the other informal one. Something that does not happen all over the world. Therefore, it is enough to say, what is your name? Yes, here, good name, that is formal and informal. Yes, we use for official purpose one name and the formal purpose, like our nicknames. We have two names. Most of us have two names. So it's not that you have to say what is your good name or what is your personal name. No, we are not going to ask that, or what is your nickname. Here, instead of asking that, what is your good name, we can ask simple, what is your name? Let a person have how many names he wants. Let him have 1, 2, 3. Let it be a personal name or a formal name or a good name or a pet name, nothing. So we are asking him what is your name in a decent English, standard English usage. Next, tight slap. See here, the word tight slap means what? Holding your hand tight and giving one slap. No. Here, instead of using this word tight slap, we can use the word hard slap. In standard English, we use the word hard slap. I'll read out here. I will give you a tight slap on your cheek. If you say that again, just observe the sentence here. I will give you a tight slap on your cheek. If you say that again. This is a very common way to admonish someone, especially children, A native speaker is more likely to say, I will give you a hard slap on your face. So usually what we say, I'll give you a tight slap on your face. For children, we say this. But no, here we have to use the word hard slap. We are giving hard slap. If you want to use the word, you can say that I will give a hard slap on your cheek. Okay, don't use the word tight slap. Next, again, marriage and wedding. We have got two different usages here. Marriage, most of us in India firmly believe in adjust, like marriages are made in heaven. Supposing we change it to weddings are made in heaven. Won't there be some eyebrows raised in protest? Certainly, there would be quite a few. But there are not any for us, any for sure, when somebody invites you to the marriage of their son. Now, just as marriage refers to a relationship between a husband and wife, wedding refers to the ceremony and solemnize this relationship. Therefore, the standard English user is required to stick to wedding in place of marriage when the reference is to the ceremony. Therefore, instead of saying, please do come to the marriage of my brother, we should say, please do come to my brother's wedding. So here you are going to celebrate, you are going to perform the wedding, not the marriage. Here, when you are inviting somebody, you can use the word, please attend my brother's wedding. Okay. Get down, get off. So again, you have got two different meaning here. And the standard usage of get down, we are not using the word get down, we are using the word get off. Consider a sentence like, he fell while getting down from the horse. In standard English usage, the expressions getting off is likely to be preferred to getting down. Similarly, I am going to get down at the next station needs to be modified as I am going to get off at the next station. So get down. See, usually what we say when we want to speak, when we speak something, we use the word get down. Yes, I'll get down in the next stop. I'm getting down in so and so place. So instead of using this word get down, we can use the word get off. I'm going to get off in the next station, or I'm going to get off from the car. I'm going to get off from the horse. So this is a proper word what you're supposed to use. Next is on or off the lights before one moves out. Most of the time what we say on the lights or off the lights. Okay, this is not the usage. You're not supposed to use this in standard English. Standard English usage is turn on or turn off the lights before leaving the room. This is the proper usage. Very commonly, we come across a sentence like, off the light before you move out of the room. A sentence like this is likely to sound confusing to a native speaker, as off cannot be used as a verb in standard English. Yes. See, when we use this word, turn off the light. So this sounds confusion for the standard English users. See, yes, you know very well, off is not a word. We are not going to use or consider this as a verb. Therefore, we are required to use a proper verb such as turn off or switch off instead of just off. So we have to use the word turn off. You find a verb there. Turn off, switch off. That means you're doing some action. Okay. And we are not just using the word only off. Instead of using only the word off, we can use the word turn off or switch off. Moreover, the expression move out suggests permanently vacating a house, etc. Hence, it would be more appropriate to say turn off the light before you leave the room. Okay. Here, now what we have to say in a very clear way, turn off the light before you leave the room. Next is, we use the word co-brother, co-sister. Most of us do this mistake. It's not that we have to use the word co-brother or co-sister. Instead, we have to use the word brother-in-law or sister-in-law in standard English usage. The native speaker of English will have difficulty in figuring out the meaning of a bizarre expression like Muthuswami was bad as a brother but worse as a co-brother. See, here is an example with the sentence there. Muthuswami was bad as a brother but worse as a co-brother. The expression co-brother is very commonly used in South India, whereas its counterpart co-sister is quite frequently used in some other parts of the country as well. Here co-brother and co-sisters are used in some parts of the country. Co-brother is used to refer to the husband of someone's wife's sister. See, co-brother is used to refer to the husband of somebody's wife and sister. Wife's sister. Similarly, co-sister stands for the wife of someone's husband's brother. So here is a large difference again. In standard English usage, such relations are yet to be specified with these connotations, and therefore they stick to the standard brother-in-law and sister-in-law arrangement. Therefore, rather than telling someone, meet my co-brother, he lives in Mumbai, say, meet my brother-in-law, he lives in Mumbai. So instead of using the co-brother or co-sister, you can use the word brother-in-law or sister-in-law. Next is biodata and JAG. These are the main, most of the words, most of the time you use this word biodata and JAG. So this is the wrong usage in Indian English. In standard English, how they use this, you have to use as resume and approach. Quite commonly, you hear someone speaking loud on the mobile, just send me your biodata and I will use the JAG to get you this job. Most native speakers of English are likely to cut a sorry figure when they are required to understand an expression like this. Obviously, the word JAG seems quite crude and far too literal to make its way into the proper English structure in this sense. Also, the word biodata is not all that well known to a native speaker who sticks either to curriculum vitae or resume. So instead of saying he got the job not because of his biodata but because of the JAG, say he got the job not on the strength of his resume but because of the approach. You can use these words. Instead of using this biodata and JAG, you can use the word resume and approach. See the last sentence what is given. He got the job not because of his biodata, but because of the JAG. This is not the way. So instead of that, we can say that he got the job not on the strength of his resume, but because of the approach. We can change the sentence in a very neat form. Next is purchase and buy. See, we use in Indian English, we use the word purchase, whereas in standard English usage, we have to use that word as buy. We can replace that word by buy. Indian users of English do not create a proper distinction between purchase and buy. See, Indian English, they will not be knowing the proper distinction. They can't differentiate what is the meaning of buy and what is the meaning of purchase. Therefore, it is not surprisingly to hear someone like, I am going to purchase 2 breads. The native speaker, if he or she happens to hear this sentence, is likely to only smile intensely. Actually, purchase is used for some elaborate and formal type of buying, or for buying something very expensive. See, if the Indian speaker hear this, he will just give a smile. He or she will smile. If the Indian speaker use this word, the standard usage person, what he do, he just give a smile on what you speak. So therefore, the word purchase should be given away to buy in the above content. Moreover, 2 bread should be replaced either with 2 slices of bread or 2 loaves of bread, as the sense requires. So you're not going to say only 2 bread. I'm going to purchase 2 breads, means what does it mean? Two pieces of bread, two slices of bread, or two loaves of bread, we don't get proper meaning there. So instead of that, you can use the word decently, like two slices of bread or two loaves of bread, as it makes some sense there. Therefore, the better way to say this would be, I am going to buy two loaves of bread. You can use this word as you're going to buy two loaves of bread. You don't use the word I'm going to buy two bread. Two bread means it gives different meaning here. Two breads means it can be two slices or two pieces or two loaves. Like it creates a dilemma there. No, you can use the word as I'm going to buy two loaves of bread, which is very clear. Next, on somebody's face. Indian English, when we speak, most of the time we must have heard this word on somebody's face. The other word is to somebody's face. Standard English usage is to somebody's face. On somebody's face. What you are going to do on somebody's face? This is the wrong usage. Indian English is such. So we must be very careful when we are using the word, because it's not our mother tongue. English is not our mother tongue. Yes, we make mistakes. So, but you must be very accurate when you use this. On somebody's face. In Indian English, we get to hear a sentence like, I told him on his face. That is why that it was a dirty joke. So most of them we must have heard this. I told him on his face that it was a dirty joke. How can we go and tell on his face? Similarly, an expression like, when I cracked the joke, it brought a smile on his face is also so uncommon. In standard English usage, however, to his face is preferred. Therefore, it is better to say, when I cracked the joke, it brought a smile on his face. So we're not using the word on his face. Here, when you're using the word on his face, it's a wrong usage. So we can use the word, it is better to say, it is better to say, what are you going to say? When I cracked the joke, it brought a smile on his face. Okay? Here it differs. This is the continuation of the previous video about the Indianism in English. That is the difference between the Indian English and standard English usage. Now again, we will begin with the different words, how Indian English people use and what is the standard English usage. Okay. First word is lesson is delivered. So in Indian English, we use the word lesson is delivered. And in standard English, lesson is given. So by saying I have delivered the lesson to the child, now he has to revise it. Some happy tutor could be suggesting that she has finished her job. In standard English, delivered apart from delivering babies is used with speech and lecture and talk, and not with the lessons which is just given. Therefore, the correct expression is, I have given the lesson to the child, now he has to revise it. See here, in Indian English, we use this, I have delivered the lesson. This is the wrong usage. Instead of, the lesson is given. So here in standard English, they use the word lesson is given. Therefore, the correct expression is, I have given the lessons to the child, now he has to revise it. Whereas in standard English, they use the word, apart from delivering babies, the word delivered is used with speech and lecture and talk. Okay, and so that is the wrong usage to say that lesson is delivered. Instead of that, you can say that I have given the lesson to the child, now he has to revise it. Next, cannot engage one's spirit today. So this is also not a proper form. Standard English usage, what we say, I cannot take my class. Cannot take my class. In Indian English, we often hear from our teachers who tell us, I am sorry, I will not be able to engage my class today. So most of the time we have come across, most of us say, most of the teachers say this, I'm sorry, I'm not able to engage my class today. In standard English, the expression engage, the class actually cannot, the ideas that someone is engaging the class as a replacement for someone else. For example, a teacher of fine arts in Indian schools may be asked to engage the students of class 9th when their regular science teacher has not turned up. So following standard English stick to talking the class, taking the class rather than engaging the class. So here again, we must be very careful when we write this. We can't say that cannot engage one's period today. Instead of that, we can use the word taking the class. So taking the class is the correct usage. Next, pin drop silence. Here, pin drop silence is not the word. It makes what most of us, most of the teachers have told that, or we have come across this word pin drop silence. So instead of that, we can use the word perfect or complete silence. Many speakers have been appreciated in Indian English as when they spoke, there was a pin drop silence. A native speaker is more likely to stick to something like there was perfect silence or complete silence. Pin drop silence means it tells us that if we drop the pin, we can hear the sound. No, this is not the way to say. Pin drop silence means you want complete silence or you must maintain silence there. So what you have to say? You have to use the word there was perfect silence or complete silence. Okay, most of the time, the second word, yesterday evening, we use the word yesterday evening to tell something about the previous day. Okay, and here in standard English, we use the word last evening. Last evening is the correct word of usage. See, most of us experience guilt or embarrassment while saying, I saw him yesterday evening. Now it is fine to say yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon. By saying yesterday evening or yesterday night is simply far too much obviously because you cannot refer to a division of time by putting day with evening and night. So we can't keep on telling that yesterday evening, yesterday afternoon, yesterday night. No. We can't keep dividing the time and using the word yesterday evening, yesterday afternoon. This is the wrong usage. Instead, it is appropriate to say, I saw him last evening or last night. So it is appropriate. The correct usage is you can say that I saw him last evening or last night. Don't use the word yesterday evening. This is the wrong usage. Instead, you can say last evening, yesterday night, wrong. So, last night. So, these are the words you have to correct yourself when you are using the standard English usage. Footpath. So, most of the time we have come across, we have heard the word footpath. So, road for vehicles and pavement for pedestrians. So, here you find the differences here. In Indian English, you find the word footpath, and here in standard English, you find road for vehicles and pavement for pedestrians. See how we are using this. We never question a statement like road for vehicles while footpath for pedestrians. We don't do this. In standard English, the road that is chosen to denote a footpath is pavement. Here, we use the word simple. The road which is chosen is for the pavement. It's for pavement. Next, expire, pass away. Here, expire means, like most of the time, like I give my example, for the medicines, dates and all, we just see the expiry date. Okay, whether it is there or still we can use or no. And we don't use the word expire for the person or for the people. Instead, we can use the word pass away. Okay, now, none of us wants to be dead. Likewise, when somebody is actually dead, we cannot dodge death just by not saying that Mr. Sadajivan Ram is dead. It's fine as long as we say Mr. Sadajivan Ram is no more or Mr. Sadajivan Ram has passed away. But the moment we start saying Mr. Sadajivan Ram has expired, it is likely to create only a comic effect, no matter how mournful you sound while admitting this. It is so because in standard English usage, the term expire is used to suggest the ending of a term or period by which some of the items like medicines and food items are required to be consumed or utilized. Therefore, say he has passed away or he is no more rather than saying he is expired. Yes, I've already told you that instead of using the word expired, he is expired. Instead of saying that, you can use the word pass away or he is no more. Next, demise and death. Here we find different meaning also. So in Indian English, we use the word demise. In standard English usage, death. As suggested earlier, most of us are keen to look for a rosy replacement or euphemism for unpleasant expressions which seem blatantly crude and impolite, particularly when related to someone being dead. We are quite keen to suggest that someone has just passed away or expired. Similarly, while reporting someone's death, we also use an expression like, ever since our father's demise, the business has not proposed. The business has not prospered or as desired. Now, in standard English, demise is hardly in practice as it is considered rather obsolete. So, a standard way of saying that is, ever since our father's death, the business has not prospered as desired. So, this is the way what we have to say. We can't use the word demise there. Instead, we can use the word death. Ever since our father's death, the business has not prospered as desired. This is the correct usage. You can't use the word after, like my father demise. After my father demise, the business is not prospered. You're not using this word, this sentence. Next, carrying pregnant. See, again, there's a difference between carrying and pregnant. Okay. It is understandable that someone's death needs some It's understood that someone's death needs some euphemism on the part of the speaker so that he or she can express this without being rude. But there are appearances to be no reason, at least to a native speaker, when we avoid something like, my sister is pregnant, and start replacing it with, my sister is carrying. Now, structurally, the verb carrying is required to be followed by some object, and though it is acceptable to say, my sister is carrying a baby, with possible connotations that she is already a mother and is carrying her baby. It is certainly more appropriate to say, my sister is pregnant. Here, carrying in the sense, like already we are carrying something. And pregnant means she is pregnant. She is not yet conceived. She is not yet delivered. These differences you can find here. Okay. My sister is carrying a baby with possible connotations that she is already a mother and is carrying a baby. It says that carrying a baby means she is already a mother and she is carrying a baby. So instead of that, you can say, my sister is pregnant. Okay. Better half and wife. So why we use this word better half? We don't use the word better half. Instead, we can say wife or husband. Better half, full half, you're not going to use this. So people proudly introduce their wife saying, meet my better half. The expression in standard English is most likely to be understood as something said in order to sound humorous. So to sound humorous, we use this word like um, meet my better half. This is not the proper usage. However, that not be the intention of many of the Indian husbands who hardly find anything humorous in their married life. Therefore, the more fanciful better half had better been replaced with something more standard, such as meet my wife. So better half and all, it looks like fanciful. We are not supposed to use the word meet my better half. either a husband or a wife? No. Instead of that, we can say that, we can replace that by saying that meet my wife or meet my husband. Mrs. and wife or spouse. So again, we find a difference here in Indian English. We find the word Mrs. Most of the time we use the word Mrs. And in standard English, they use the word as wife or spouse. A simple enquiry like, what is your Mrs. doing these days, is not likely to raise an eyebrows when both the speaker and the listener are Indians. It is so because in Indian English, parlance, Mrs. is a direct replacement for wife, something that is not the cause in standard English. When Mrs. is strictly regarded as a title and is not used as a name itself. Therefore, it is fine to say she is Mrs. Chowdhury or Mrs. Bansal. Why are you so upset? But not something like, where is your Mrs.? See, if you ask somebody, if you ask a husband, where is your Mrs.? Or if you ask a wife, where is your husband? It doesn't sound good. Or instead of that, we can say, how is your Mrs. doing? Mrs. Bansal. Or you can address in a very decent way when we have to speak somebody while using the word, where is your Mrs. doesn't sound good. The proper structure of English would be, where is your wife? We can use the word, where is your wife? Okay. Now next, Indian English, again an Indian English and standard English differences we find between the madam and the wife here. It seems that Indian English consistently tries to avoid a seemingly intimidating word like wife. Unintimidating word like wife. So quite often when you get a face to question like, where is madam? Why have you not brought her? Probably it is just an expression of someone's position at home. But the native users of English are certainly likely to find themselves somewhat bemused, for they would naturally expect madam to be followed by some proper noun. Therefore, from formal occasions, where is your madam should be replaced by a standard usage. For example, where is your wife? So when you're using this, we need some expressions to be followed when you use the word madam. So instead of that, you can clearly speak, where is your wife? Okay. And now in Indian English, we use the word receive, and in standard English, meet and bring home. See, there's a difference here. I am going to the bus stand to receive my wife. When a British or American wife is going to listen to such an effusive sense of welcome with which someone is likely to receive their wife, she is bound to feel envious of her Indian counterpart. So, if any Britisher or a British or American wife listen to this sentence, I am going to the bus stand to receive my wife, she will get envious, or she'll be feeling, what kind of usage is this? It is so because when you receive someone, you have garlands ready and you are giving someone a rousing and formal welcome. So when you're receiving somebody, we receive them with gratitude, like we garland them or we stand in a respected manner and then welcome them in a formal way. Therefore, it is a less hyperbolic and realistic situation. You are only using to meet and bring her home. So only you are going to meet and bring home your wife. So what you're doing, you're just going to meet and bring her home. You're not going to receive her. You're not taking any garlands, or you're not going to give any standing ovation. So this is the wrong usage. Instead of that, you can use the word meet and bring home. I'm going to meet my wife and bring her home. See somebody at 5:15. See one more word here. See somebody at 5:15. In Indian English, we use this. That is the wrong usage. See somebody at 5:15. 4:15, 5:15, 3:15. These kind of words or the time sense where we speak is done usually when you are juniors in small kindergartens, or when you are studying in your primary classes. We use this kind of versions. Now here somebody at 5:15, instead of that you can use the word, so see somebody at 5:15. 5:15 in the sense, it's nothing but after 15 minutes. That is 5:15. We are not using that still. Some of us are very sloppy when it comes to suggesting what time of the day or night it is. See, most of the time what we do, we just will be very sloppy. We'll be thinking what time of day or night and how we have to speak. So we often end up saying something like, see you at 5:15. A native speaker of English, however, is more likely to stick to the formal expressions. Here, native speakers, what they do, they keep, they are very particular about the formal speaking. They are very sticking of that. Means they are very punctual. So, like seeing you at 5:15, or the train is going to leave at 5:45, or the meeting will resume at 10:30, etc. So instead of that, we can use the word, we will meet you at 5:15, or the train is leaving at 5:45, and the meeting will resume at 10:30. These are the proper words. Okay, this is the word how we have to use. This is the format when we read out the times. Okay, in standard English we use the word okay, and sorry, in Indian English we use the word okay, and in standard English, write or tell me. This is the use of the words here. In Indian English, the expression okay serves various different purposes. It stands for the traditional all correct, suggesting that the listener has agreed to the speaker's proposition. Here, in Indian English, okay stands for different purposes. It stands for the traditional all correct. A general saying, okay means all correct. For each and everything sounds good here, all correct. For instance, shall we dine out today? May be answered with an okay. This suggests the approval of the listener. However, very frequently, particularly when a telephonic conversation is going on, the expression okay replaces the more appropriate yes. See, when we ask somebody, can we go for a dine or shall we go out for dinner? What generally Indian English usage people say, they say yes, okay. They use the word okay. So okay is used for different purposes. So instead of that, we can use the word yes. For example, to the statement, when I reached the bus stand, I missed my bus. The listener can vary. The listener can very told innocuously add his or her okay as a way of response, which actually suggests carry on, I'm listening. So here we can use the word carry on, I'm listening, instead of saying okay for each and everything. क्या अंतर है खिड़की काढ़ो में दरवाजा काढ़ो में क्या है ये पनिशमेंट है we have the word how do you do and how are you. So Indian English usually they use the word how do you do, and standard usage is how are you. How do you do means it gives some different meanings. How do you do means it serves many purposes. So we are not going to use this. Indian speakers of English do not mind exchanging their pleasantries with this particular expressions, even if they have met this same person many times earlier. In standard English, how do you do is used when you meet the person for the first time. It is the subsequent meeting. It is more appropriate to say, how are you? See here, what is the particular word we are supposed to use? In standard English, how do you do is used when you meet the person for the first time. It is the subsequent meetings. In the subsequent meetings, it is more appropriate to say, how are you? So first time when we meet, we use the word, how do you do? Then If it is followed by the second meeting, third meeting, so on and so forth and all, then we use the word how are you. So this is the difference between Indian English usage and standard English usage. Now we have the word between two or between and from two. Quite often you hear a receptionist telling you that the office remains closed for lunch between 1 to 2:30 p.m. See here, we are not going to use this word 1 to 2:30 p.m. Here, instead of that, what we do, standard English, how do you do, sorry, in standard English, we use the word, the correct form is likely to be either between 1 and 2:30 p.m. or from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Between time word you're mentioning, we are using the word and there. 1 and 2:30 or from 1 to 2:30. So this is not, we're not using the timings between them. We're not using the time between. Standard Indian English people use the word between. The remaining time, the office remain closed for lunch between 1 to 2 p.m. This is 1 to 2, between, we are not using this. We're using the word, the office remains closed 1 and 2 p.m. or 1 to 2:30 p.m. So this is the difference what we find in standard English and Indian English.